Dengue fever and Zika were once considered tropical diseases, but climate change is pushing the mosquitoes that carry these viruses northward, putting temperate cities like ours at risk. The tiger mosquito is one species that carries dengue fever, and so far it's already been found as far north as Windsor. So for more on this and whether we should be concerned, we're joined live by Thomas Tenkate, a professor at the School of Occupational and Public Health at Toronto Metropolitan University. Professor, thanks for joining us this afternoon, although this sounds a little alarming. I mean, do I need to stock up on DEET? What's the reality here about this tiger mosquito on the way?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, I think at this stage we don't need to be too concerned. We're really looking into the future and what might happen in terms of climate change and the impact on the temperatures, and particularly the winter temperatures. So I think it's really forecasting that across the world there is the likelihood of the increased spread of diseases, because the temperatures are going to create more favourable conditions for some mosquitoes and other insects.
So are you kind of saying effectively that this is really an inevitability, that ultimately over the next couple of decades perhaps that this will be something that we'll potentially have to be dealing with?
I definitely think it's something that we have to be mindful of, and it just depends on how much change we're talking about in terms of temperature. If it's 1 or 2 degrees, that's quite likely with climate change. It probably won't be as big a deal, but if it's more than that, it could really impact, because basically the mosquitoes and the eggs that the mosquitoes lay are very vulnerable to the temperatures that we get in winter. But if those temperatures aren't as great, and particularly if the eggs of the mosquito is protected somehow over winter, then it is likely that there could be the mosquito could keep surviving.
It's interesting, Professor. I wonder if there are other diseases that sort of show us or give us this example of how invasive species, or species that we haven't sort of typically seen, have actually arrived here and are able to start spreading viruses that we hadn't necessarily seen, or perhaps that the conditions have just changed so significantly that more disease can spread.
Yeah, well, definitely these mosquitoes. So there's this one that they're calling the Asian tiger, but it has its close relative that's called the Aedes aegypti, and both of these species really are very much embedded in tropical regions, but we are seeing more of the spread into the subtropical area versus up to the temperate. So I think that it's really that aspect of, yes, this is quite a likelihood, but how much it will spread is difficult to say as yet. But there are these mosquitoes do transmit a range of diseases. The one dengue is the one that we mainly worried about, but there are a range of others, including yellow fever, one called Zika, another one called chikungunya. There's a whole range of them out there that these mosquitoes and other insects can transmit if they're given the conditions to be able to keep surviving.
And Professor Tenkate, for people who we hear about dengue fever, but we don't necessarily consider it as part of our day-to-day lives here, in areas that are tropical where it is more prevalent, how significant, how deadly is it? How much of a concern is it?
Yeah, well, around the world, there's something like 400 million cases every year of dengue, and so it's a quite substantial disease. There's something like 40,000 deaths every year from dengue, particularly in the very tropical regions. I come from Australia and an area called Queensland, and we have dengue there all the time, and there's a lot of surveillance of the mosquito there, and outbreaks that occur. That these mosquitoes, one interesting thing is that they really only like to live around housing and in suburban areas, and they also don't fly very far. So some mosquitoes can have a flight range of 10, 15, 20 kilometers, whereas these guys pretty much stay around wherever they're breeding, and so it could be 100 meters, 200 meters, and so basically, if one of these mosquitoes sort of get established in a local area, it's really you're able to sort of lock it down reasonably quickly if you can identify it quickly as well. So there, we've got a lot of learning from around the world on how to manage and control this, and so I think it's really about being being having that surveillance and monitoring what's happening to be able to see, is there some a continued spread close to us.
Okay. Hey, Professor Tenkate, thanks for enlightening us this afternoon. Appreciate the time. Take care.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Okay.